Alright, we just have a saucepan full of a little bit of water and a flame. I also have what I think is around 2 kilograms of lead. This is pretty heavy for its size. It's actually very impressive, and you can see here it's kind of oxidized or rusted a little bit. There we go, into focus. As you can see, it's got these interesting appearances. If I scraped it, like maybe you can see some, yeah, like that shiny bit, it'll look more shiny and smooth. So this probably isn't 100% pure. I imagine it would be like at least 90, 95, could even be 99% pure. It's good enough. And I'll just pop it in here. I must say that this isn't medical advice. I'm not recommending this, that you have to do this or anything. All that like legal disclaimer bullshit, just, assume that I've said all that stuff. Now, going on, this is a video about, firstly I'll talk about water, and then I'll talk about lead. Now water, back in the day, like probably 10 years ago, in the spiritual community, it was kind of a thing where you would get like a bottle of water, or a glass jar, because, we didn't want to use plastic, and then you would add some natural salt to it, like Himalayan or sea salt or something like that, or black lava salt, and then you would add crystals, and you can also add metals to it. And you would either leave it out in the sun to kind of pick up the energy of the sun, or you would, just kind of leave it in like your kitchen for a day. That's it. That's one thing you can do if you want to make special water. And how does that work? It's working the same principle that this works. Now, of course, there is oxidization on this, this lead, wherever it is. There is oxidization, so we're going to get lead, a little tiny bit of lead oxide in this water. That's not exactly the idea of it, though. If you just put a pure piece of metal, it would still work. Similarly with this saucepan, every time I use it to heat water or cook, whatever thing that I'm trying to cook, would you think like little tiny pieces of the saucepan comes out, or do you want to think more like it's giving its energy to the water? Whatever one you want to think, either way it is what it is. So if you put like a bunch of crystals or a bunch of metals, things that you like, herbs, if you put into water, kind of dissolve, right? Metals don't. You have to do special things to make metals dissolve in water, but still they add their properties to the water, right? They add their properties, their special properties to the water, very mildly, of course, but it still is, it still kind of adds that to it, so to speak. Now let's talk about lead. All right. So lead was pretty much heavily used in industrial uses. It's such a good, easy metal. It's heavy. It's easy to bend and mold and shape. It's easy to mount. Really, honestly, it is the perfect metal for like industry use. Now, it was kind of phased out and banned and such around the 1970s. Around there, they started removing leaded gasoline, and they started to remove it, I believe, in paints and in, industry metal and such. And really, you only have like, maybe you have some machines which have like leaded alloys with iron and maybe aluminum and such. Maybe there's some old machines with it left, because, they have like the idea of, oh, this product may contain lead, and it's probably because of, the factory having lead, blades or lead crushes or whatever it happens to be. What happened after the 1970s? What happened to the world? What happened to culture, society? Things unraveled a little bit. In kind of the 80s, we had the autism epidemic starting up. We had like kind of the unraveling of social culture. We had computers, like home computers, coming up in the 80s. So you can think lead, which is this ultra heavy, kind of stable, electromagnetically resistant metal, which, if you think of like radiation, I watched a video where they had a microwave, and a microwave, I believe it's got like an ultra high or high voltage transformer, which connects to the magnetron. I'm not sure how the magnetron works. But that spits out, electromagnetic radiation, and then they use the tin can as like an antenna to contain it to make like a magnetron, a magnetic radiation gun or beam. And what happens is that it can light up like lights or electronics just from the radiation that's coming off, because you can think that it's just shooting energy in the air. It's just shooting like, yeah, just energy, and anything that comes near it will be energized by it. So if you put your finger, just say if there's like a radiation coming out, you put your finger there, you'll get all tingly and you'll feel all weird. And if you leave it for too long, it'll microwave your finger, get hot, and probably not be so good. Lead protects against that. I think what happened around the 70s is that we no longer had that protection from lead. Now, again, I'm going to repeat, this is just my opinion. This isn't, I tried to look up, I spent like 30 seconds, like looking up on search engines, good lead, studies of good lead. I didn't really find anything. Again, it was like 30 seconds. I half-assed the work. So, I really can't say I did much of that, but I really couldn't find anything. It was all just like the dangers of lead, how lead leads to like problems. And it's just evil, lead, evil, lead, evil, lead, evil. So I'm just like, it's not doing good for my, how will I convince my subscribers that lead is actually a that's getting really hot, a more or less harmless, I'll turn that off now, harmless substance in, small amounts, when the entire internet says that it's this, it's basically this evil demonic thing going on. So lead is related to the root, to Saturn, to the bones, to the hair, the skin, the stability, etc. I think when we removed lead as a common thing, like just say maybe you'd use it in a spoon or I don't know, a pipe or whatever thing, I think we removed the root, as in people's root chakra got weaker, people's bones, and that's true. People's bones did legitimately get less dense. People did get more mentally ill. We also increased the amount of radiation. So you've got, more Wi-Fi, more computers, more all this stuff. So you've got more energy in the air. You've got more electromagnetic energy, but you don't have the lead or other things in there. It's like shungite, I think obsidian, I think black crystals, black kind of gray crystals usually block it. Metal in general just kind of blocks. EMF shield things with like foil and, all that kind of stuff. But going on, I think people would have taken in small amounts of lead through their diet, through their lifestyle, through touching it and such. Just tiny amounts, nothing big. Because again, heavy metal toxicity is when you take in too much. The cases with mercury, the cases with lead where it's like, someone's in the hospital for toxicity is when they've worked around it. They've just been huffing the fumes of it day in, day out, no safety equipment, no nothing. Or with the mercury, for example, it was when a ton of organic mercury got spilled in the water. And then after that, it's like, oh, mercury bad, we don't want to touch mercury. When you can touch mercury, you can eat the ore of mercury. I mean, you can drink, I wouldn't recommend it, but, it's pretty much non-toxic to drink it. Don't do it, of course, because the way that it works, it kind of, I think it affects the stomach, like it can penetrate through it. You can like penetrate through the body. It's just really not nice to do, but technically it's the actual thing is non-toxic. It's just the way that it works is kind of, though they actually amalgamate it first in like Vedic medicine, Ayurvedic medicine. That's how they make it edible. Going on. Yeah, if you think about the Romans, for example, the Romans had their pipes made of lead. They made like everything out of lead. They loved lead. They used it for so much. They would eat it. Apparently they would just like cut off little pieces of lead and eat it. They made candy out of the lead acetate, I think, which is very sweet. It's the vinegar acetate lead. You make it by hydrogen peroxide and vinegar and you put lead inside of that, or you have like a very, if you can get like a powdered lead oxide, powdered lead rust, and you just put that in vinegar and heat it, and you'll make a white milky lead acetate. Again, lead relates to the cold, the snow, the winter. Pigs, for example, the animal pigs. Pigs, if you know, their bones are like literally indestructible. They are ridiculous. I remember trying to chop through a pig bone with this. Admittedly, this isn't very sharp, but I could not. I hacked at it, and I ripped open my finger, I think, or my thumb. Not fun. So yeah, they're really strong. EMF shielding. So it's a Saturnian root metal, ultra heavy, blocks energy, blocks radiation. If you okay, you don't have to eat it. You can go to like a fishing store or a fishing area of a store, and they will have like sinkers, lead balls. You can get it very cheap. You can have a ball of lead in your pocket like a crystal. Metals act the same as crystals in this way, and you will feel more stable. You feel more grounded. You can you can flatten it into a coin, or heat it into a coin. It's very easy to heat, just using a blowtorch. And you can wear like a necklace. You can drill a hole in it, make a coin shape, wear a necklace. You don't even have to wear it under your shirt, over your shirt if you don't want to touch it. And again, you will feel more calm. You can wear a ring specifically around the pinky finger. Again, you will feel rooted, grounded. This is for the people who have anxiety disorders. This is for the people that have excessive worry, nervousness, fear, weak bones, unstable lives. You're not very routine. If you don't like the morning, if you don't like the cold, again, this is good for those people. Now, in my experiences of actually eating this stuff, usually you will make a metal into its acetate, for example, and then you mix it with alcohol, and it's usually like less poisonous that way. Metals in a metallic state aren't really the best thing. They are poisonous. You can eat metal, like powder and oxide powder and all that. It's just not really good for you. It'll give you like a digestive burn. But in my experience, trying small amounts of the acetate in alcohol, I found it was incredibly grounding. It was very, reduction of anxiety, reduction of, energy in the air. Like, just say if you're near someone who has a lot of energy, you feel like your grounding is removing itself, or you're dissolving, or you're kind of becoming unstable, or like you have nerve issues. You get like a rattling nerves, or back pain, or kidney pain, all that kind of stuff. If you're around people who are really energetic like that, or they kind of got bad energy, you'll feel that. Lead it'll stop that. So I didn't feel anything like that from being around people like that when I tried it. So as I said, yeah, you could just have it in your pocket, like a couple, tens of grams of it, like a small ball or a coin or a ring or whatever shape you want. Like, just try it out. If you think it's interesting, and you think like that it'll help you, like you have anxiety disorders, or you want more just root stability, or you work around computers a lot, or you work around people that are too high energy, that are too like stimulated, yeah, give it a shot. Anyway, tastes like nothing, but it has an effect of being very stabilizing. I drink it, but I don't know who's touched this lead. I mean, I drink more, but I don't know who touched that. So I'm kind of washing it. I'll wash it, and maybe I can do it again. Anyway, that's enough for this video. Of course, if you liked it, feel free to check the links in the description for social and commercial stuff, or anything else. And of course, have a good day. Here's a post note. I'm holding this now, and it's very warm because it was just heating in hot water. If you were making like a what do you call it, an iron, when you iron clothing, this would be perfect. Hot, good heat retention, heavy weight, perfect. Now the qualities inherently of lead is actually that it's very yin. it's negative. It's usually super cold, super heavy, dense, really dense. Like you could try to shoot an arrow through this, and I mean, you'd kind of, you'd dint it, and you'd because it's kind of softish. It feels like it gets harder when it gets hotter. Interesting, just like other parts. Anyway, but what I'm trying to say is like it's dense, 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 dense. You could hit it with a hammer and it would still kind of, bend, but it would retain its self. That's all. So, yep, goodbye.